So today we are going to check out this here sleeper of a 412 cabinet. This here is the B-52 AT-412.
Just play the damn thing.
Okay, now I bought this cabinet. I bought it for like 150 bucks. I mean, it was dirt cheap. And it was in relatively good condition. I found it on Guitar Center's used site. I bought it for one reason and one reason only. That reason being that this is a 480 watt cabinet. This thing will handle 480 watts RMS. Now, the reason why that's important to me is because as many of you know, I own a Marshall Mode 4, which is a 350 watt amplifier. However, I did not have a 412 cabinet, or any cabinet for that matter, that can handle that much power. The only cabinets I know of that are capable of doing so are the actual Marshall MF400, which was the 400 watt cabinet that Marshall put out specifically to go with the Mode 4. And the Mode 4 cabinets suddenly have been discovered by the metal players in recent years, and now you can never find them, and when you do, prices are absolutely exorbitant on them. So that leaves this guy, and these are much easier to track down and actually are able to handle even more power than the MF400s. These are pretty cool cabs, I think. I've owned one of these before. I had one way back when with my B-52 AT-100 that I used to have. If you're not familiar with that amp, it's basically a poor man's dual rectifier. So I actually had this same cab, or the same model, not this exact unit, but I actually had one of these cabs to go with that head, and I liked it really, really well. It's got 4 proprietary B-52 speakers, each one of them obviously rated at handling 120 watts apiece. And they sound pretty good, believe it or not. Some people like them, some people hate them. I always enjoyed them. B-52 did make a Celestion cab that was, technically a notch above this one. That came with vintage 30s or 7080s, and I think it has 7080s, but honestly, it's been a while. I don't recall. You don't see those quite as often. These actually are all over the place. So at any rate, we're going to put this thing through its paces and see how it sounds. Now, I'm going to use my trusty Marshall JCM900 to demo this cabinet. Reason being is because of all the cabinets or all the amps that I own, that's the one that I think most people are going to be, have a pretty good idea what it sounds like. And by the way, normally when I mic guitar cabinets, I usually like to blend a Shure SM57 with the Sennheiser E906. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to use the SM57 by itself, right on the edge of the cone of the speaker. So nothing fancy, very simple. Again, the SM57 is a microphone that most everybody's familiar with. So first, just so that we have a point of reference to work with, I'm going to play a quick sample of my Marshall JCM900 through the trusty Marshall 1960A cabinet. It's just the regular 1960 with the GT12 T75 speakers in it, not the vintage 30 cabinet, not the greenback cabinet or anything, just the regular old 1960. And I actually happen to like this Marshall cab because the higher wattage speakers seem to give it a little bit more headroom and they don't break up as early. Again, just for a point of reference, these are 2 pieces of gear most people are pretty familiar with. Now you might be able to see behind me that I've got a tube screamer set up here on top of the Marshall as a boost. Level all the way up, tone right at 12 o'clock, and gain about, 9 o'clock, not much. So here is what that same amp sounds like with a boost in front of it. All right, I'm going to switch some things around and plug in the B-52 cab and switch sides, and let's see how that thing sounds. Okay, let's have a close-up look at this thing. There you can see there is the back input panel. This is a stereo cab, and right now I'm using it. And what you heard here, I've got it set up in mono. So mono 16 ohms is how I'm running it. And coming right here to the side, I've removed the handle, obviously. So as you can see, that's a pretty heavy duty birch plywood. Okay, and then here on the inside, you can see that there is it looks like a solid pine brace there, baffle. I'm assuming that's either pine or pine or birch. I think it's pine. It's like particle board front baffling, and if I got enough room. And there is the back of the speaker magnet. As you can see, again, B-52 Professional AT-412 proprietary speakers. And there are 4 of these in here. All right, so I got everything reconfigured. I'm gonna turn around. You guys can see the B-52 cab we're using behind me again, SM57, right on the edge of the cone there. And here is what she sounds like. With the tube screamer engaged. The tube screamer I'm using, by the way, is just the good old school tone lock TS7 tube screamer in the TS9 mode. The high gain stuff sounds pretty good. I'm going to switch over to the rhythm channel on the 900 and mess around with that for a minute. Yeah, I like it. It sounds, honestly, it sounds about like I remember it. And, the last time I owned one of these was about 11 years ago. Like I said, back at that time I was using a much different amplifier, but still, my good old trusty JSM 900 sounds really good through it. Really, here in the room, to tell you the truth, it sounds actually pretty similar to the 1960. So I haven't I haven't heard the recordings yet to hear them back to back, to see how they sound through the 57. But here in the room, they do, sounds pretty similar to my 1960, and maybe with a little bit more headroom, doesn't break up quite as early because of the higher wattage speakers, and I like it. If you're wondering why I did not use my Marshall Mode 4 to demo this cab, which is and that was the amp that I bought this cab for, the answer to that is very, very simple, because the last time I fired up my Marshall Mode 4, I blew a fuse in it. And I got to take it down to Uncle Ivor's and get it repaired, which I hope to do here the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I wanted to do this video on this cab because a lot of people seem curious about it, and there's not a whole lot out there on YouTube on it, at least that I could find. So I figured I would perform my civic duty and share with you my findings. So comment down below, let me know what you think, and adios.